has your most recent. Oh, live now. Okay,
But
I'll
is
have
it
to find
is it that one or is it the different
I see
one?
the crowdfunding sneak peek live now.
It's live now, it's saying?
Yeah.
Okay. It went live a little. I was thinking it would be a little bit later.
So it's recording you now. You're live.
It's recording you too. Sorry, guys. I had wanted to do this like just right after the other thing, but I couldn't figure out how to get my camera live. So it wasn't meant to be anticlimactic. I felt like it was very anticlimactic with that little dude at the end going, "We want you." And let me fix the camera here. And it wasn't meant to be anticlimactic. So I do apologize. Can everyone hear me okay? If you put your headphones on, can you hear me okay?
You have to talk for me to hear you.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. No?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm waiting for a few more people to get in. Because we had like 19 on during that live stream and then I let it go too long. So I'm sorry, guys. It wasn't meant to be like a big delay between that premiere and then this live stream. So my bad. Shoot me for being a YouTube noob. How do I see who is in the chat? Maybe I can't. Put something in chat if you're in here, guys.
Did you see my chat?
Yeah, I see yours, hon.
Should answer the question.
I will. I'll talk about it here. I'm waiting for a few people. Okay. I was trying to figure out how to transition everyone from that premiere directly over into this live stream, but that didn't go so well and it put a bigger delay in there than I wanted. So I apologize. Maybe that wasn't the best way to do it. My bad. I'm a YouTube idiot. $650 for 1,000 watt. Andrew, that's like later, way down the road. And so for the Kickstarter, for the crowdfunding, whether we do Indiegogo or Kickstarter, I'm still trying to decide which one I want to do. There's pluses and minuses to both. Hi, Ann. Thank you. All right. We have 9 people on, so I'll talk about it a little bit. It's right now. Do it now, right? I would, Andrew, if I could, but I need to be realistic. We need to take smaller, more measured steps and make things, actually work rather than just crash and burn. So what we're going to be doing for this crowdfunding campaign is we're going to be selling small Harmony VAWT kits that people will be able to purchase, and they'll require a little bit of assembly. Now we'll offer ones that are actually pre-assembled, and they'll just be in a much larger box because pre-assembled units will, of course, have a lot of empty space in them with the scoops all together and everything. But the kits that I'm planning on doing, I'm thinking like $99, and they're going to just be a small kit that would give you everything you need with a tiny bit of assembly. You'll be able to have your scoops together and have, it'll have a little generator and everything in there. It'll have the stand. It'll come with everything you need to put it together. We'll probably be offering them in various colors. And what I'm thinking is that we'd be looking at a 15 watt output in probably 13 mile per hour winds. I have to do testing on various little motor generators and try and make sure that I've got the right components to actually do that kind of output. But this would only be little units that would be probably 1 foot in diameter when they are furled when they're closed, but when they open up, then they'd be about 2 feet in diameter, and they would be about 2 feet tall. So little units that you can put on a picnic table or on the beach beside you or something like that. They're just really proof of concept, and at the same time, a little bit of a functional unit to show people how Harmony works. They're not going to be able to open and close and furl and everything. They're just going to be held at one static position. But you'll be able to close them up. The plan is that you'll be able to close them up to take them with you so that they're not stuck in the open position, and it's more like a cylinder. So it's just a matter at this point of pulling together the items that we need to do that. And Hun, when we're doing this, if you can read the comments for me, like if there's anything that I'm missing, just speak up and yell at me. Do you have any videos? Kevlin, I'm not sure what you're asking. Do I have any videos that give the Jenny works? The generator, what do you mean the generator works? So in the full-size unit, the ones where I had the generator hooked up, it's basically I hadn't received the charge controller keys and things like that at the time, so I wasn't able to get good information from that generator and that charge controller coupling. Anyway, let me keep talking about what the Kickstarter is planning on being here. So we're looking at doing those kits in a nice small package that we can send to people. We're thinking probably a $99 price tag where you'll get the small desktop or benchtop unit that you can put outside on a picnic table or in the grass beside you. It'd be enough to charge like a cell phone or something like that. It's not going to be anything that you're going to, connect to your house or anything even remotely close to that. It's just going to be a small kit, proof of concept, but we need a starting point. We need something to generate funds, something to help start the momentum, get the ball rolling, get that snowball rolling down the hill, so to speak, and allow us to gather funds and garner funds for the much larger endeavors, which are then where we're going to be doing more powerful versions that would be suitable for backpacking or recreational activities such as RV and boating. Those much larger units would then be suitable for making power, when you're out backpacking, but you'd want it to be able to break down and be carried with you, or the boating and RV ones where you'd put it on top of your RV or on your boat, and it would help keep the batteries topped off during downtime. So once we have enough money from the Kickstarter and from these small units that we can actually get those units out to people, get the proof of concept out there, introduce people to what Harmony is, and yes, they'll have a little tiny working model of it, then we can move on to the bigger and better goals, which I've always had the goal of making this so that you can have the residential size unit on your house.
So Sean Bettman is asking if this is a perk for the crowdfunding levels.
So is the small unit going to be a perk? I'm not sure what you're asking.
The levels of crowdfunding. So you get it for a certain level of crowdfunding.
Is this projected to be classified as perks? Sean, can you rephrase that question? Because is this, I'm not sure what you're asking is what projected to be classified as perks.
Your tabletop design. So
the tabletop design is going to be the base unit. So then what I would offer for, let's say we offer that for, $99. It's just going to be enough to charge your cell phone, 15 watts of power, something like that. The larger units would not be during that initial crowdfunding campaign. The only options I would offer in that initial one, because think about it, most crowdfunding fails because they prepare poorly. They try and say they're going to do all these wonderful things. They're going to give 10 different options for their widget, and then they crash and burn. I don't want to do that. I want to give you guys something realistic that will work, that I can deliver to you, and that will make you at least allow you to have what you paid for. We can then go, I know. I have to read some of their comments though, hon. So when we do this, when we produce those units, the levels that we would offer that would give you maybe $125 would be ones that have, who knows, maybe different color options will be more money. Ones that are fully assembled, that you get the whole thing, you don't have to do any assembly, would be maybe $150, something like that. So we will offer different levels, and then we would have, hats and t-shirts and other things as well, like any crowdfunding campaign. But no, this initial campaign, my thought is to keep it simple, keep it something that gives you the item so you can have it, hold it, you can test it, you can see it, you can understand it. But it's not going to be like we're going to be offering RV size ones and full house size ones in this first Kickstarter campaign. There's absolutely no way that I could even think about doing something like that. There's way too many questions. There's far too much testing that would need to be done for that. We're going to keep it small. We're going to keep it concise. And then this will let you guys receive the end product that you anticipate getting. All right. This is not a pre-Kickstarter campaign. The Kickstarter campaign that I'm speaking about right now is going to be for these small units. This would be to help bankroll the company creating more and start getting the initial infusion of cash into the company so that we can do the R&D for those larger units, the camping units, the boating and RV units, those type of things. So this first product is what I'm determining, something that is a bite-sized chunk that I can produce for you guys. We can hire people to help put the kits together. We can have the parts 3D printed by Xometry.com or IcoMold, and print the bottoms and the tops. The sidewalls would be able to be different colors, a little bit of assembly, and boom, you've got your working unit for a $99 price tag. So it's just, I'm giving information on this initial Kickstarter campaign, which is what's going to bring the money in to help kind of bootstrap creating more into the further development, which is what we need to go with the larger units. Correct. Yes, R&D small units. They're just going to be like 15-watt units. They're only going to make enough power to probably charge your cell phone. My plan is to have the little units basically charging up a brick or a USB charging device. So you can buy the little charging devices. They're like a lithium battery pack that you then would charge your cell phone from that. So the wind turbine Harmony would be charging this little brick, and then you would come up to that, plug into it, and be able to top off your phone or whatever from that brick. You're not going to be charging directly from Harmony into your phone because the power is going up and down, it's dipping, it's spiking, and you don't want to do that to your cell phone. You want your cell phone to get a nice level charge from the battery. We can abuse those bricks, and we can put all kinds of crazy dirty power into it. I will have probably a charge controller on it, a small little charge controller that'll do, it'll level out the voltage going into it to charge the brick itself, but then the brick is what you would use to charge your cell phone. So
how much do you plan to raise?
That's a good question. I've talked about this for days, weeks, months with my wife over the course of the last year. And I would need to be home full time to really start doing this properly. I need to quit my job. I need to be home full time. So if I'm selling these units for, let's say, $100, the numbers that I would need to really be able to do this and start the R&D properly and get this out the door, we're looking at, I know it's almost crazy to hear me say it, but I think I'm going to be shooting for a campaign that raises upwards of $2 million. Don't shoot me. Did you guys all sign off? $2 million, you're like, what? This guy's crazy. But when you do the math on that, $2 million would be 20,000 units. So 20,000 of these little Harmony VAWT R&D units, getting them out to the public. And there's been a lot of Kickstarter campaigns that have had very successful campaigns going into 30,000, 60,000, many thousands of units that are sold. Maybe it's unrealistic to shoot for 20,000 units, which would be a 2 million campaign. We could go less. Let me do some quick math here if I am right. Yeah, 20,000. I don't know, maybe even 10,000 units would be a realistic number to get $1 million to get things going. But we need the funds, we need facilities. I'm going to need to build a wind tunnel. When we start getting into the larger units, the camping and RV, the boating units, and then certainly the residential size units, we need money for that stuff. And the only way that's going to come is if I have a good, solid little product like the little units that are tabletop or, out there when you're having a picnic, you can set it up in the grass beside you. Something to get the word out, something to introduce people to. This is Harmony Vertical Axis Wind Turbine. This is a small little demonstration unit of what the larger Big Brother is going to be. We need to start that somewhere. So I'm open to ideas. You guys out there are going to have ideas. There's been a lot of successful Kickstarters that have had things targeted in the $100 range, anywhere from $75 to $150, I think, is going to be perfectly fine for these little units. But it has to be enough that when I produce them, I'm not just working my rear end off to make these units, and then in the end, we have no money to really bootstrap the company with. So, yeah, this is the part that I need to work out. I need to work out these details. We need to basically focus in on what components are going to be in the kit. We need to ensure that the kits are going to perform as we want them to perform in the 12 to 15 mile per hour winds, that they're going to produce the output that we say they're going to produce, because people are going to get it. They're going to set it up outside and they're going to say, oh, it's not producing anything. Well, I can't make the wind blow. And little tiny units like this are not going to be producing a lot of power. So you're going to need substantial wind. 12 mile per hour wind is pretty substantial wind to even begin to make the wattage to just charge your cell phone. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword in that regard, because people, they're going to expect some little unit to be putting out 100 watts or something crazy, and that's unrealistic. Even the large unit that I have that's 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide, it's unrealistic that unit at that size can produce 1,000 watts. It's just when I do the math on how much energy can be reclaimed from that unit, you start getting up into efficiencies that are unrealistic to produce that much power. All right, so sounds like a complete unit capable of small charge. Yep, that sounds realistic. Yeah, and Sean, that is exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be a complete unit. It's going to have the little brick that the wind turbine is going to charge the brick. You'll plug your phone into the brick and get your charge from that. Multiple units possible. And can you elaborate on what you mean by multiple units possible? You mean, can people buy more than one little R&D unit during the Kickstarter? Absolutely, but I don't think that's what you mean.
Maybe she's talking about daisy chaining them.
Oh, putting them together to charge faster? I suppose you could. It wouldn't be a big deal to couple 2 or 3 of them onto the same charge controller. We could give a kit to allow you to daisy chain them, but I don't know that it's really going to be. I don't think people would want to pay $200 and $300 to get 3 little tiny R&D harmonies just so they can now make 30 watts of power. I don't know. Maybe there would be a few people out there that would do that, but it seems to me I'm trying to make this so that we as a company don't go crazy trying to make 20 different permutations of this, but we have something that we can very easily start putting the kits together, get them out the door to you guys, get them in your hands. They work. They do exactly what they're supposed to do. And then we can take that money and roll it into the other R&D for making the bigger units, which is ultimately what you guys want anyway. You don't want a little toy sitting there on the table next to you charging your cell phone. You want the units that are actually going to be producing the power for, your boating, your RV, your house, things like that. You want the 1,000-watt units, but the R&D required for that, it's going to be pricey, really pricey. And I need to get the money. I need to get the funds to do that.
So can she order multiple units on your Kickstarter?
Yeah. You'll definitely be able to order as many units as you want on the Kickstarter. And here's a really cool thing, guys. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I'm planning on, when we do the Kickstarter, if we do this, I might even give a credit. I can't say this 100% because if we get bought out by some company later down the line, they may choose not to honor it or something like that. But if we end up being the ones producing the larger units, then I would actually give you, if you spent $200 on the Kickstarter, I would actually give you that $200 of credit towards the larger units later on down the line. So in effect, you'd get this initial item from the crowdfunding campaign for free if you end up buying the larger unit later on. So if you spend $300 buying 3 of these little units during the Kickstarter, then that would be $300 that would go towards the larger unit later on. I was toying with doing that as an extra incentive on the crowdfunding campaign. So advertising and sales events. You mean just putting up so that you can have multiple ones and for different sales events that you would have, or sales events that I would have? Let me read John's question here while you maybe write that a little bit more. So I'm ready for a small one. You full-time RV. So, John, the small units that I'm talking about are just little demonstration units, little R&D units. It's only going to be producing like 15 watts of power. It is not going to be these would be the very, very first push at getting Harmony out into the public. And what I'm talking about is just small little demo units that you can buy that are going to help demonstrate the concepts of what Harmony is, get the word out, get the name brand out. And then the money from that Kickstarter will be rolled into making the larger push at the R&D level for the RV and boating size units, because they're going to be much larger. They're going to have to be of a size that can produce the power that you want for, making 200, 300 watts of power to help top off your batteries in your RV and your boating. You can't have something that's tiny and little and expect it to produce, tons of wattage, because the math doesn't work. It needs to be large enough to actually do that. So Scott, 10,000 to 20,000 novelty units on your testing. It's all right, monumental. So, okay, Scott, let's roll with that. Because this is why I haven't done a Kickstarter for 18 months. I haven't really entertained it, other than I've mentioned it a few times. Okay, and so, yeah, you could definitely, yes, multiple units, not a problem for things like that. So, Scott, back to your question. I understand that you think this would be a distraction, but you tell me, then you think about this. When you're someone like myself who has no funding, all I have is a community of supporters such as yourselves around me, you're not going to just hand me $2,000, $5,000 and say, here, Chris, go do R&D. I trust that you're going to do good with this money. You're not going to do that. It's maybe you will, Scott, but no one else will. It would be less than 1% of the people that would be doing it. So I need to give the community, I need to give the followers something that they can touch, that they can feel, that they can put their hands on and use, that then in turn generates the funds for me to do this. Kickstarter isn't a platform for selling $8,000 or $6,000 wind turbines. It's not going to work, including myself and fans, but you need 500,000 fans. So, Scott, I get it. I get that there's a small community right now of us, but I have to try. I mean, yes, it's going to be a challenging effort to get the numbers that we need to sell tens of thousands of units, but what else is there to do? I have to start somewhere. I have to try. I have to give it a whirl. I have to, throw my hat in the ring, so to speak, and I have to try. And this is the best way that I can think of making a small, easily digestible, easily, just something that I can actually achieve the end goal of making these units and getting them out to you and putting them in your hands. Because without that capability, all I'm going to be doing is research and development on a shoestring budget for the rest of my life. It's never going to go anywhere. There has to be something to make, to light the fire, to get things going, to get it going out the door. And I think this Kickstarter campaign is that thing that can do it, that vehicle that can do it. See, right now, what you have is I'm doing all the work. You guys are watching and saying, oh, that's cool, that's cool. But once I actually do the Kickstarter and get the Kickstarter published and it's live, now you, the community, without spending any money, but just a little bit of your time, you can go out and spread that word to family and friends. And then we can have, what is 100 or 1,000 people that know about it will suddenly be 10,000 people who know about it. And then those 10,000 will talk to others. And that's what makes something go viral. Does it need to go viral to actually succeed? No, it just needs to do reasonably well. I don't know. Sometimes people do 2 and 3 Kickstarter campaigns before they have their first viable one. I'm fine with that. If it happens, it happens. And oh, it was behind me. The bottom line is I have to start somewhere. I can't just keep going on a shoestring budget forever. I can't just keep hoping that some big investor is going to swoop in one day and be like, wow, your tech is awesome, Chris. I want to back you for $3 million. I can't, I've heard the term hope isn't a strategy used lately. And that is exactly what I'd be doing if I sat here waiting for someone to come in and rescue me and give me a big investment, because it's just unrealistic. So I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to put these out there. I'm going to say, hey guys, here's these nice little units. They're going to produce, 15 watts for you to charge your cell phone. But the important factor here is it's getting the Harmony VAWT name out there. It's introducing people to something that would actually work. And then it's something they can touch and feel. And in addition to that, like I said, I would give the credit for those units purchased towards the larger units later on. So Terry, I'd be looking at probably selling these little units for like $100 price tag. And that would be the full kit, to give the kit to, send them out, to get them to you. And then some very minimal assembly would be required to put it together, and you would have a functional unit. I'm hoping that $100 price tag is in a target that people would be willing to support the Kickstarter and to actually, be happy with what they received. It's not going to be enough to, power anything other than charging your cell phone or things like that. It's only going to make 15 watts of power or something, but it's a starting point. All right, so.
How soon? So when do you expect this to actually kickstart?
I'm reading Sean's about it takes some moments. Catch your attention. Okay. Well, so Sean, that is exactly my thoughts as well. I think if we put this in people's hands, it's going to get them excited about the bigger possibilities. We make it known right away in the Kickstarter. This is not anything more than a means of raising money for the company for the later development, which is the larger units that we're after. So Utbar, I'll have to look at your channel then. There are some $100 units in content. I'm not sure what you're getting at there. Tim, your message was restricted. What the heck was that?
Retracted.
Oh, retracted. Sorry, I thought it said restricted.
You missed somebody up there that was asking when you expect this to actually kickstart.
Oh, so right now we've already got the prints and I've already got the plans for doing the small units. it's just a matter of, I need to find a good little motor generator that I can use. I need to find the little charge controllers. They're, the components are going to be, let's just say the electronics and everything all together will be $25. And that would give you the brick. It would give you the little charge controller. It would have everything in it that it needs, the little motor generator. Then the other stuff is just some plastic for the scoops. And Terry, it could certainly charge your car battery, but it's going to take it a very, very long time. It's only going to be charging at like 15 watts of power. For, to charge your car battery at that would take it several hours to get it up to anything usable. So InstaBreeze is giving 464 watts. It only costs 200. Utbar, I can't speak to their 464 watt generator. They're probably selling a 464 watt generator that you need, 24 mile an hour winds to produce that or something. I'm sure it's not just like, oh, we're going to give you 464 watts. It's $200 and you only need, 5 meter per second wind to get that. I would say it's getting a little bit deep in here if that's what they're trying to sell, because I've been doing this for quite a while and the numbers just aren't there in units that are that small. So I'll have to look and see what it is you're talking about. Your project will work. One of the best.
He wants his name pronounced YouTuber Lars.
YouTuber Lars. Okay. Well, thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. That is kind of you. YouTuber Lars, I will have to check out that channel and see what you're talking about. Yeah, and Terry, those units that they have are for the normal airplane propeller wind turbines, and I'm not sure how many miles per hour wind they need, but I'm sure it's probably up in the 20 mile per hour wind range that they need for those 500 watts of production. Next to crowdfunding, you could also go for, yeah. And Tim, I have been sort of fishing for venture capitalists for, about a year now. And they're out there, they get excited, and then they back off because, those venture capitalists are after one thing. They're after a quick way to take their $1 million and turn it into $10 million or $5 million. They don't want a project that's still in the R&D phase. They want something that's literally handed to them on a silver platter, and all they have to do, like Shark Tank, is pop in $1 million and out the other end they get 5 million or something. So it's unrealistic. I'm going with a realistic approach, putting a realistic product in your hands. It'll give you guys a little bit of the introduction to what Harmony is, what it can do, what it looks like, get the name brand out there, and then hopefully generate the funds for the larger ambitious goals of making the units that would be RV, boating, and ultimately the residential size units.
Anne has a good question.
And I live in a very windy area. How much wind can these small units handle? That'll be part of the testing that we want to do. In the kit, I'll probably include a little tube of super glue so that once you assemble it, you can super glue the scoops together properly. But I would think that these little units would be able to withstand up to probably like 30 mile an hour winds without too much problem. They're not going to be supported at the top. My plan is that it would just be supported at the base, at the bottom, and then the scoops themselves would be unsupported because it's only 2 feet tall. But, if you start getting into crazy winds, then it might be too much for the little guys to handle. I'd love to be able to make them so that you could furl them or close them up a little bit, because then it could handle the higher wind speeds, but that becomes problematic in something so small, because you've all seen the videos of the larger units and how the furling works and everything, but in a small unit to really get into gearing and furling motors and furling tubes and all that, it starts pushing it from a project that's able to be done and realistic to one of these pipe dream projects that you read about on YouTube where nothing ever comes of it because it was too ambitious. It was too, the breadth and width of it was too wide to really give people what they wanted and what they invested in. Thank you, Amber. Thank you very much. I joined TikTok like a couple weeks ago, and that one video was the first one that I did. So it was pretty interesting how crazy it went. I've seen reviews on those being virtually useless. Sean, what are you reviews on the ones that like Terry was talking about and how they're virtually useless under 10-mile-an-hour wind speeds? And yes, if I'm correct in what I'm assuming, that is exactly the same thing. They need, most of the time, those units that you buy on Amazon and stuff that are 500 watts and stuff like that, they're literally rated at that wattage in 25 and 30-mile-an-hour winds. So, and that's really, you're right. For experimental, for classroom projects, I'm hoping that teachers would buy them just as a way to introduce students to a different way of thinking, because everyone's like, they've got their blinders on. Oh, wind turbines are these propeller-looking things like an airplane propeller, but wind turbines can be all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And the one that I've come up with for Harmony is unique in a lot of different ways, because it's a Venturi effect fluid turbine with that helix on it, as well as Savonius turbine, and then it's all combined together with that furling capability, the ability for it to get smaller and reduce its circumference. Go ahead, hon.
You have a comment from Scott McFadden
about how much funding is required to have a full. So Scott, I need to get out of my day job. I've been doing Harmony for 18 months while I'm still in my day job, and it's killing me. I need to get out of my day job. That's part of the reason that I've decided to finally do this Kickstarter with the small R&D units to put them out in people's hands, because I need to be on this full time. And if I can sell 10,000 units at $100, that's $1 million. It'll allow me to produce those units with a couple, people that I hire to help get them out the door, put them in your hands, and then have hopefully, 500,000 left over to actually put back into the company so that I can start doing the R&D and the work for the larger units, because that's what you guys want. You don't want a little toy. You want the full-size R&D unit, or not the R&D units. You want the full-size residential units. You want the ones that are going to be on your RV or your boat or on your house. You don't want some little $100 unit. And I don't want to sit here forever waiting and waiting and waiting for an investor to come by and buy the rights to my project, or some Chinese company to start knocking them off and making a horrible version of them and get a bad name out there for Harmony before I even get them out the door. That's ridiculous. So my idea to do this Kickstarter is the first attempt that we're finally going with, that we control, that we're in the driver's seat for getting funding for the company, not waiting around for some big investor to finally swoop in with his angel wings and save us, because that's ridiculous. You've got to make your own fate.
You have two more.
Two more.
Comments. John Lamb and YouTube Lars.
Time frame before campaign starts. John, I would look at probably just 1 to 2 months for me to get some very simple testing done. I need to test little motor generators. If you guys have interest in helping with that, I'll put my address out there. You guys can send, if you want to send a little, motor generator or stepper motors, and say, hey, this has worked really well for me to do little stuff, give it a try. They're only $2 a piece on Amazon or $8 a piece on Amazon. You guys can participate as much as you want in that. I would welcome any pieces and parts that people think are good to put in the kit, and then I'll test them. Basically what we're after is we're trying to put the whole kit together, get it assembled. I'll take video. I'll be putting video out on, hey guys, this is what it's going to look like. This is how big they're going to be. This is how easy it'll be to put them together. And the output, you know, the really cool thing, if I've got something small that's only 2 feet wide, 2 feet tall, when it's assembled, I can actually have my wife drive down the road in the car, and I can have my hand out the window holding that little unit outside the car, and we don't need a wind tunnel. I mean, yes, I can be in the basement with a fan doing testing, but it's still not quite as good as being out in the real wind, getting the real full effect of the wind hitting you at 10 miles an hour, at 15 miles an hour, at 20 miles an hour. So we need to do the testing. We need to test the little components that would be in the kit. We need to put it together, make sure that we're sending you guys something that has good instructions, it's easy to put together, and it gives you reasonably good results in the wind speeds that we're targeting, you know, which is somewhere in the 12 and 13 mile an hour wind speeds. I'd like to be producing about 15 watts of power, 10 to 15 watts of power for you. That would be my goal. And I'd say we could begin that Kickstarter campaign in 1 to 2 months if things go well, as we're testing different pieces and parts for that. So Scott, how much funding is required to have a full working model? Yeah,
Go down to the last one.
lots and lots of money, like several million would probably be where I need to be to get that, you know, to hire the people, the engineers, the designers, to get the wind tunnel built, to have it validated, to do computational fluid dynamics. That's why it's crazy to try and sit here and do this on a shoestring budget. We need more money. That's the bottom line. YouTuber Laura's, okay, so YouTuber, yes, I will agree with you that historically vertical axis wind turbines have not been as efficient as the horizontal wind turbines. However, I will tell you, if you join my Facebook channel and you actually look on there, we've now received 2 different sets of data from overseas universities that have been studying my design for the past year. And in 3 to 4 meter per second winds, that would translate to like 6 to 8 mile per hour winds, Harmony was showing 50% efficiency in their testing, in their wind tunnels that they did. 50%. YouTuber Lars, that's insane. And if we are even anywhere close to that, hell, if we're even 30% efficient, I'd be, you know, doing cartwheels. So I don't know yet, because I haven't been able to do the testing on my large unit, obviously. But we will be able to do the testing on the small handheld units, and that's kind of exciting to me. The unfortunate side of that is I'm not going to be able to do the furling as easy on the little tiny ones as I'd like to. I may have to bite the bullet and spend some money on getting some really, you know, expensive parts and making a special miniaturized, fully functional small one for my testing purposes that can actually do full furling, opening and closing on that very special small prototype unit. But that would allow me to get the data that I need, and then we can scale it up from there. No, I do not yet have the crowdfunding campaign website. So I would say just look to my harmonyvawt.com website. You want to put that in there, hon? harmonyvawt.com is my website. And that is where all the information is going to be posted when we do the Kickstarter campaign, when we start it. So really what we're after is people getting the word out, people helping to put that word out. So yeah, YouTuber, we think we're these amazing creatures with we know the laws of physics, and we know the first and second laws of thermodynamics. I've said it 1,000 times. We're ants scrabbling around on this big blue boulder. We don't know jack squat. We just like to think that we do. And everything that we have today, everything that is amazing that we have, was at one time or another thought to be impossible. Okay, no matter what amazing technology you point out right now, it was at one time or another thought to be impossible. And so to that end, I say, yes, up to this point, the vertical axis wind turbines that have been tested and that are published, their efficiency is pretty crappy. But if harmony is different, if the numbers are coming in as high as what I'm starting to see preliminary data, then that's pretty amazing.
Alex says hi.
Hello, Alex from the Netherlands. How are you?
Hi, in there.
So I'd say in a month, maybe 2 months at the most, if it takes us a little while to get the pieces and parts together. It really won't take me long to print the tops and bottoms for the scoop templates to, test the assembly and get everything together. The part that I'm struggling with in my mind is how to give you the ability to set multiple furling states. Not that it would furl automatically in the small R&D unit, but just simply set a couple different furling states, like maybe 5 different furling states or something like that. That's the part that I'm struggling with because, excuse me, we just had breakfast an hour ago. The way Harmony works right now is the gearing mechanisms themselves, and the worm gear locks everything in place and holds those scoops rigidly at whatever degree of furling that I have them set at. But in these little miniature units, it's not going to have any of that gearing. It's not going to have any of that, the worm gear mechanism. So I'm struggling with how to give you the ability to set different furling states, because that would really be cool, especially with classroom environments and university environments for studying, and even places that would want to take it and do wind tunnel testing and their own calculations in their labs. If you could set the furling states manually on the little turbine scoops, that would be freaking awesome. So got to give that some thought, but right now it's probably going to end up being just a static furling state that you'll have to set on the little ones and leave it at that. YouTuber from Germany, very cool. Looking at me worldwide, thank you. My wife was running out to get her beeper. She's on call. And elaborate on what you mean by distributorship opportunities. You don't mean for these little tiny R&D units, do you? You mean for the bigger ones, right? And then so Chandra, yeah, I assume you're talking about for the larger R&D units and things like that, where I wouldn't build the test facility myself. Yes, I agree. Early on, we would just have testing done by facilities. It's going to be costly to do, but yes, in the beginning. But once we get Harmony up and running and we get proper funding, let's say things go crazy and we get $5 million worth of funding and stuff. Dude, we're building a wind tunnel. Guaranteed, we're freaking building a wind tunnel. It's going to be, 8 feet high, 8 feet wide, or actually more like 12 feet tall, 12 feet wide, and 40 feet long. And we're, putting a big ass, motor fan on the other end, like a Everglade boat motor or something on the other end. And we're building our own wind tunnel because I want to be able to do the testing in-house. I want to be able to go machine some new parts. And then the very next day we go back into the wind tunnel, we test again. We don't want to be, I'm a builder. I'm a creator. I get my hands dirty. And if we have enough funding that we can build our own wind tunnel, that is one of the first things that we're going to be doing once we have a proper facility. So yeah, and there's going to be distributorships and possibilities for that all over. I don't plan on holding back distributorship anywhere in the world. Cold climates are going to be a problem. That's something we're going to have to tackle later because of snow and ice buildup on the gears and things like that. I don't even want to think about that stuff right now because, that represents maybe 10 or 20% of the locations that are going to be problematic because of snow and ice buildup. But the other 80% of the world can use these and love them. And in fact, for the typhoon-stricken areas and places where they've just got beating, driving rain and things like that, the Philippines, I already had the Peace Corps contacting me from the Philippines because they were so interested in what Harmony did with the furling capability and the ability for it to continue spinning right on through that typhoon. It's not going to care that it's getting rain and water and everything blasting at it. It's just going to keep right on spinning. It'll be furled down to a nearly closed state while it's doing that, but That's the beauty of Harmony. It doesn't need a brake. It doesn't need a dump load. It just furls down and closes down to the point where it slows its RPMs down to a safe limit. But it would slow the RPMs down to where it's still producing at its top rated RPM range, whether that's 400 RPM or 500 RPM. I don't know. Whatever we determine those units of that size will be safe to run at, it would furl down to get its RPMs down to that top rated speed, that safe speed, and then be sitting there producing right on through that typhoon or hurricane. And that's the beauty of what Harmony can do. Hello, Dennis. How are you? So I don't know. I'll go back in case we had some new people join. This chat was to talk about the units that I'm looking to produce, probably little R&D units that would be maybe 2 feet wide by 2 feet tall when they're opened. I'm targeting the $100 price tag for those little demonstration R&D units. They're only going to produce, 10 to 15 watts of power in like 13 mile per hour winds. So it's not anything that's going to be, you're not going to be using this to charge to power your house or anything. It's just a little R&D unit, but we are looking at doing it to get initial bootstrap funding for creating more and for the rest of the development that needs to happen. Just a way to get the funds rolling. So maybe 1 to 2 months, I'm looking to begin that Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign and get that kicked off. And what we're looking to you, the community, to help with is spreading that word. YouTuber Lars, Windshuckler07, this video. So here's my email, YouTuber Lars. Send me what you want to show me to that email address, and I'll take a look at it, okay? In high wind speed areas, how effective can the gears be in closing and reducing RPM? Chandra, everyone has asked that from the beginning, and the gearing isn't a problem at all. The gearing on this prototype, the gears are just made out of plastic. And as I start doing the testing and start getting into higher wind speed with testing, I have a feeling that even the plastic gears that I have on there now are going to hold up to probably 20 and 25 meter per second winds without any problem. Beyond that, we're most definitely going to need to have aluminum gears, but I don't need to get into that until much later on when we're ready to get into the higher destructive wind speeds and getting into those testing where we may have to have, carbon fiber reinforced scoops, certainly injection mold scoops, not just chemically welded together acrylic scoops like I have now. The testing that I'm going to do now with the unit, the white unit that you've seen, that has to be done in careful, controlled, we'll start at the low wind speeds, 5 meter per second, 6 meter per second, 7 meter per second. And in each one of those wind speeds, we're going to try all different types of furling states to kind of target where the sweet spots are, because I think that 100% open is not always going to be the most efficient furling state for each given wind speed. I think you're going to have a plot on the graph that's going to show, a peak where 90% open is the most efficient for 8 meter per second winds, and maybe 87% open is going to be the most efficient for 10 meter per second winds. These are just examples. I don't think 100% is going to be the key every time. And the really cool thing when you start thinking about what Harmony can do, I almost want to get a little piece of paper out and graph it for you, but the algorithms are in a vertical axis wind turbine, the height times the width is what your area of interference with the wind is. And in that square box, that meters, however many square meters it is calculated for the maximum efficiency or the maximum output, the maximum work that can be done in that given space. The theoretical maximum is something like 59%. That you cannot supposedly go over for efficiency. You can't pull more than 59% efficiency out of that wind for work in a wind turbine. But the cool thing is, if you think of an ice skater who's spinning on the ice and then they pull their arms in, they start going faster and faster and faster. Harmony does the same thing. So as we pull our arms in just a little bit, we're reducing our cross section. And when you reduce your cross section, then suddenly all the algorithms change. And now, without doing anything different than just reducing your cross section, if you start going even just a little bit faster in your RPMs, because just like the skater, you're bringing your center of mass in, now you're going to go faster, which is going to do, it's going to, as you start thinking about this, it really trips your mind out here. You start going faster, that means you're making more voltage and more amperage. And now you have more RPMs. Well, the RPMs are really driving the more amperage and voltage. So more amperage, more voltage, and a reduced cross section, which all three of those things are going to make your numbers go up, up, and up. So when you really start thinking about this, any geeks out there like me who get into the numbers of how this works, it gets really, really exciting when you start thinking about Harmony being able to furl and reduce its cross-sectional exposure to the wind, because those algorithms get changed around in very, very exciting ways. So it remains to be seen. You know, I have to do careful and very methodical wind tunnel testing to get to that data, but that stuff's going to be crazy exciting to start seeing that, you know, oh my God, it's not the most efficient to keep it 100% opened. We get the best production in an 8 meter per second wind when we are 90% opened. And in a 13 meter per second wind, we get the best production when we're only 80% opened. Something like that. You know, that stuff's going to blow the pants off of anything else out there in the market today, because nothing else can do that. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. That's a pretty broad sweeping statement, but nothing that I have seen can do that reliably, can reduce its cross section like that and affect those efficiency numbers in the way that Harmony can. All right, so I geeked out there a little bit. I apologize. Anyone new that has joined, welcome. I was talking early on in the live chat here about what the Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign is going to look like. Probably little R&D units, 2 feet wide, 2 feet tall. We're targeting hopefully 10 to 15 watts of power output in like a 13 mile an hour wind. And I'd like to produce those units for to sell them to the public for about $100 each. We'll have various kits that give you different color options, and maybe we'll have kits that are fully assembled that we sell for a little bit more and stuff like that. But I'm not going to get into different sizes and stuff like that for this first Kickstarter or, Indiegogo campaign. Terry, why should I be a radio host? Thank you. So Terry, I know you're a real penny pincher, and you're probably gonna answer just to say something embarrassing to me. But would you buy one of these little R&D units to support the project for $100? That's, just a small little unit, a test unit to help fund the company and help get things going, get the word out. Would you be on board with that? Alex, you're welcome. The address for the Harmony website is harmonyvawt.com. There we go. That's a clickable address right there. Brad told you have to buy one. Okay. Well, I'm hoping, am I hoping that this little product gives you guys something that you can get excited about, that you can buy, that you can put on your picnic table or on the blanket beside you when you're laying at the beach and people come up to you and ask what it is and how they can get one. And, just I'd love to start seeing us build momentum with this project. And I'm sick and tired of waiting around for that angel investor or that venture capitalist to come swooping in and save us, because we don't need to be saved. We just need to be smart. We just need to be methodical. We need to take it one step at a time. And that first step, I think, is putting something in your hands, our community, our users, who can then go out and spread the word. We can get support for the product. We can get support for the brand name, and we can start building momentum from the success of this initial Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign. So any suggestions, any help you guys have towards that end, I'm open to whatever you have, pieces, parts that you think would be good for the kits. They're going to be small, guys, so don't be sending me, some big, huge servo motor or stepper motor to test, because it's not going to drive that. It's just going to be a little, 2 feet wide unit when it's unfurled, 2 feet tall, and we have to keep the little test motors are going to be small. It's just going to be a little tiny motor generator that we have hooked up. Probably, just use a small pulley on the motor generator and a larger pulley on the bottom of the Harmony turbine scoops to give it a 5-to-1 or 6-to-1 RPM advantage, something like that. And that's it. Keep it simple, keep it easy, but give you guys something that can in turn produce some power and give you a way to talk to other people about it, introduce it to the world, introduce it to your friends and your family, and start building the momentum. And maybe we'll need to do a second and a third Kickstarter to really get the momentum going. Who knows? But we have to start somewhere. You've got to, I've been trying and working on this for so long, but it's not going to go anywhere if we don't take that first step out of the starting gate. We've got to at least get a product out there that we can begin. And that's where it's at. I'm sorry, I'm reading Chandra, I have a question. Okay. Sure. You got my email address up above there, harmonyvawt@gmail.com. If you look up, you'll see it. Send me that information. I'll take a look. Chandra Shakar. So Sean, I agree. Having physical units that can, be put to the test, that's going to be awesome. I hope so, man. I hope so, because we need to do something. I'm sick and tired of just, it could take me another 3 years at the rate I'm going. I'm trying to build a large residential unit, but even though I have the prototype built, now I'm hitting the stumbling blocks of where to get the testing, where to get the good charge controller, where to get the good generator that I can couple to it, that it's going to be in the right RPM range. It's like mind-boggling, all the crap that is now going along with it. I was doing testing behind an airplane just last week to see what kind of wind speeds we could get behind of an airplane. That's insane that I am going to those lengths to try and get testing. So I thought, this is crazy. If I just go with smaller units that I can get out the door, that I can start getting funding, then we don't have to be beggars anymore. We can actually have some proper funding for the company. We can actually buy some of the equipment that we need, or rent wind tunnel time up at Penn State University or something. Right now I can't do any of that. I don't have, I won't say a pot to piss in, but I don't have any funding that would allow me to do any of that stuff that I need to do. It's a lot of money to get into the next phase of where I need to go. And I don't have that money. So we need to start somewhere. And that's where this crowdfunding campaign will hopefully be the answer. Thank you, Chandra Shakar. And thank you as well, Peter. It'll be on the crowdfunding campaign, either Kickstarter or Indiegogo. I'm not sure. Can you do both of them at the same time? Is that allowed? Is there some clause that one of them has that says if you're doing it here, you can't do it there? I don't know. So yes, you can do them both at the same time. You have to put words after that. Yes, Chandra. Okay. So I think the difference between Indiegogo and Kickstarter is a scary one. And that is, with Indiegogo, if you, let's say you set your goal at selling 10,000 of these units to get $1 million. If you only sell 5,000 of them, I think with Indiegogo, they still send you the money. So you're like, oh crap, now I've got to produce 5,000 of these, but that drives the cost per unit up because now you've got lesser numbers to work with and you still need to produce your end product for the people. So I was a little bit leery about Indiegogo from what I was reading, because it seems like even if I would get an order for 200 of these, now I'm on the hook to produce 200. And yes, if the numbers are low enough, I could produce them all myself. But, you know, it's like, it's sort of the double-edged sword there. You want to get up to the numbers where you can afford to hire a few people to help you put the kits together. And you can use the volume discounts to help you drive the price down on your products that you're producing. So I will be reading and trying to understand how that all works, whether Indiegogo is better than Kickstarter or the other way around. I'm not sure. All right. Any other questions, guys? One to 2 months. That's what I'm thinking right now would be when I can probably begin the Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign. We have some groundwork to do with finding pieces, finding parts, doing some testing, getting some things 3D printed and assembled for the small units, testing them in conditions like literally holding it out the window of the car while we drive down the road at certain miles per hour to verify that it can produce the wattage that we're after, things like that. But, you know, it's all stuff that's easy, bite-sized chunks that I can do. We don't have to worry about finding a wind tunnel and renting time with, you know, it's just right now it's starting to get crazy with the big one because I can't take it anywhere to do the testing, and that's killing me. And even if I could take it somewhere to do the testing, I'm still struggling with finding the right generator and charge controller to pair with it, because there's all kinds of nuances with, you know, RPM ranges, expected RPM ranges and crap like that. It's just, it's frustrating. So I thought, let's simplify things. Let's take it down a notch. Let's give you a product that you can put your hands on, and we'll go from there. All right. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and look for more videos soon. Here's my Patreon page. If anyone does wish to give a donation at this point to Patreon, it would be there that you can do it. Once I get the crowdfunding links up and running and the crowdfunding campaign pages posted, you know, a month to 2, then you could, of course, endorse that. In the meantime, Patreon will be wonderful if you guys want to help support things. Thank you, Gabe. You're very welcome. Yeah, Tim, a roof rack on electric cars would be pretty cool, but you're losing, you know, that battle. As you drive down the road, you're stealing wattage away from your tires to make that wind turbine spin. So putting it on a roof rack on your car when you're sitting still, that's fine. Then you could be recharging your batteries for your electric car, but I wouldn't ever be wanting to put it on your car as you're driving down the road having it spin, because then you're just draining your battery quicker. These aren't free energy devices. They do still adhere to the known laws of physics that we have, even though they're really the known best guesses of physics. But, you know, they're not over unity devices here, so you are going to end up with a net loss. But to set it on a roof rack and let it charge your batteries while you're sitting there taking pictures on a mountaintop or something, that's a fantastic idea. These little tiny R&D units, they're going to be tiny. You know, they're going to be small. They're not going to be like exceptional producers or anything that would do anything great for you. But it'd be a cute little concept to do. Hey, I'm charging my car here with this little tiny turbine. It would take it 15 days to charge your car up or something. But the point is, it still would be a pretty interesting little, I won't say gimmick, but a little experiment to do. But the larger units, like the RV and the camping size ones, yeah, sure. Then you could definitely do that. Deploy it and put it on your roof rack while you're up having a picnic on a mountaintop or something. That'd be some pretty badass footage that you would get right there. And then you could show your meter in the car. Oh yeah, we're charging our car on top of this mountain here, and we're getting 180 watts of power going into the car as we're eating lunch. I mean, that'd be freaking awesome. That would be pretty cool stuff. But that's later. That's later on down the road, and we have to start small. We have to keep it realistic. That's the big thing. So many crowdfunding campaigns fail because people are shooting for the sun, moon, and stars, and it's ridiculous. We need to keep it realistic. We need to put something in your hands that you can touch, that you can feel, that's real, and it produces what we say it's going to produce, and it works. Then that money from that campaign helps to snowball and roll into the other R&D for the larger stuff that ultimately you guys want. Yeah, solar and wind combined together. I've said this on 5 different videos that I've done. No one should ever be deploying renewables on their home by like one vector. You should never just put wind by itself on your home or solar by itself on your home. You should always have both, because if it's dark and cloudy outside, then you're probably getting a lot of wind. If it's sunny and shining outside, then you probably don't have a lot of wind. So, when you have one, you usually don't have the other. When, it's rare to have both wind and solar at the same time. It happens, but not often. Put them both on your house. Why wouldn't you? It's absolutely ludicrous not to put them both on your house. Maybe in, 1% or one half of 1% of the cases around the world, there'd be a good argument for only doing one because it just wouldn't pay to do the other or something. Fine. But in the most, the bell curve is pretty large for putting them both on your house at the same time. Most of us always have some wind and some solar at some point during our weeks. And why wouldn't you want to capitalize on both of them? Okay, I have talked far too long. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry that the delay was so much between that initial announcement at 12 o'clock and then this video. I didn't mean to go a half an hour in between there. I was looking to only go like 10 minutes, but some technical difficulties. So I do apologize. We probably lost a few viewers in between there, and that was my bad, but I'm learning. So peace out. Take care, and look for more to come in the near future. Thank you.